This election was no ordinary defeat for Labour. It marks a moment in history. The choice for Labour is to renew itself as a serious, non-conservative competitor for power in British politics, or retreat from such an ambition, in which case, over time, it will be replaced. And of course, Brexit was an issue. It was a Brexit general election, which was why it was a cardinal error for Labour ever to agree it. But an already difficult situation was made impossible by the failure to take a clear position and to stick to it. Now, I take very seriously the argument that we deserted or disrespected our working class voters by reopening the referendum result. But the problem with this position is that there was no way of uniting the country over Brexit. Britain is deeply divided over it. Now that Brexit will happen, we must make the best of it and the country must come together. But until the decision was settled by the election, as unfortunately it has been, if Labour had gone for leave, it would simply have alienated the other half of the nation that opposed Brexit, as well as the vast bulk of party members. What we should have done, following June 2016, is accepted the result, said it was for the government to negotiate an agreement, but reserved our right to critique the agreement, and should it fail to be a good deal for the country, advocate that the final decision should rest with the people. Ultimately, yes, we might have lost the most ardent Brexit support, but I believe with different leadership, we would have kept much of our vote in traditional Labour areas, whilst benefiting from the fact that even in those areas, the majority of those voting Labour would actually remain. Instead, we pursued a path of almost comic indecision, alienated both sides of the debate, leaving our voters without guidance or leadership. The absence of leadership on what was obviously the biggest question facing the country then reinforced all the other doubts about Jeremy Corbyn. Politically, people saw him as fundamentally opposing what Britain and Western countries stand for. He personified politically an idea, a brand of quasi-revolutionary socialism, mixing far-left economic policy with deep hostility to Western foreign policy, which never has appealed to traditional Labour voters, never will appeal to them, and represented for them a combination of misguided ideology and terminal ineptitude that they found insulting. No sentient political party goes into an election with a leader who has a net approval rating of minus 40%. The takeover of the Labour Party by the far left turned it into a glorified protest movement with cult trimmings, utterly incapable of being a credible government.